All right, welcome back to TML Weekly. This is episode 23. As always, presented by Bjorn and Don Cherry Sports Grill. So first things first, we got John back. He just came back from Florida. How was your trip?
Well, I'm not bright red, so we're going to say that the sunscreen worked. And other than that, yeah, pretty good. Glad to be back. And you guys had a good show last week. Caught most of it. And yeah, Johnny, I mean, no one's there to argue with you, man. Like, so it was smooth sailing last week for you.
Nolan's a smart guy.
Well played.
We're on the same page, and we get. You know what? It's a lot more clean, Johnny, when you're not here. Like it's real smooth. We kept to our timelines. We weren't all over the place, but glad to have you back. Welcome back. Tough day today, folks. Like we were just talking off the air. So as most of you know, Chris Simon passed away today. Chris, for those old enough to have watched his career, he's only a couple years younger than me, or was only a couple years younger than me, and he was a heavyweight when fighting was a thing. When honor and code and look after your teammates was a thing, and nobody did it like Chris Simon. He was an absolute warrior. His anybody that's ever played with him absolutely loved the guy. I know just from the younger Indigenous players in the game, Chris Simon was an absolute role model and hero, as was the late Gino Logic, and some of these guys really were the Gretzky's for lack of a better term, to a young kid growing up on a First Nation and looking to make a path to the National Hockey League. So all the best to thoughts and prayers to Chris's friends and family. If you have anything bothering you, reach out to someone and talk to them. We're all thinking about Chris's family, and I was just gutted when I saw that news today. That's all I have to say about that. But just he will be missed for sure.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's not that bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So moving on to a lighter topic now. Heading back to Leafs land. Marner and Jarnkrok are both out injured now. Do you guys want to give an update on that?
Well, I know Keefe came out and said that the ankle isn't really responding the way he wanted it to, and Tree Living came out and said, he's been off the ice. We're going to keep him off the ice for another couple days and see how that goes. Listen, I think at a certain point, you have to be concerned here, because a high ankle sprain is not something that is la-di-da land, right? It might not be as bad as what Liljegren had, not nearly as bad as what Wall had, but they're not good, and everything seems to take a little bit longer to get back in the swing of things. So for me, I would not be surprised if you don't see Marner for a couple weeks at least. At this point in time, I think we're fairly well locked in to where we are positionally for the playoff run, and I don't necessarily know that there's a truckload of good throwing Marner back in the lineup at 85 or 90% does for us going into the playoffs. That's my take. Jarnkrok, listen, I like Jarnkrok, but Jarnkrok can't stay healthy right now. And a big part about being a functional, solid two-way NHL hockey player is being available to your team. And he hasn't been available to us this year. So that is what it is.
Yeah, I don't disagree on Marner. The high ankle sprain is such a there's several varieties and variances to that injury. A lot of them, fortunately, they don't get worse. You can play on a high ankle sprain, and it's not gonna make it worse if it's that degree. I think you're right. I think they're going to keep him out. Panic sets in and they lose 6 in a row, and they're back in a wild card spot, or something's goofy about maybe not getting in. then maybe they rush him back a little bit. But I'm fine keeping. We know what Marner is, right? We know what Marner's going to do. I'm fine keeping him out till just the last couple of games of the regular season, get his legs and timing back, and then off you go. But yeah, it's absolutely concerning. I mean, he's a top 10 player in the world. You take a top 10 player in the world off any team, and you're going to be in trouble. Jarnkrok, I think his looked the way he got out. It didn't look bad the way he went in. I didn't think a little bit iffy, but the way he went to the bench and down the tunnel, it wasn't good. I think what did they say? Did they say upper body?
I think it was his hand again.
Was it a hand? It looked like a shoulder.
Because he recently returned from missing 13 games with a broken knuckle.
Right.
So I think they said it was a hand. Yeah.
Yeah. So but again, this is where you can and Keefe is moving things around every night,
which is different than normal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but now you're looking at options. Now you're fitting guys in that you're not going to go through a playoff run and be healthy. So you got to have these guys that can slot into spots. And for the most part, the record is just sustaining. It is what it is. I'd rather see Marner have a higher ankle sprain today than in 6 weeks from now, when they're maybe going into the second round and now you're losing a guy like that. So
second round. Did I hear you say second round?
They were there last year, weren't they?
Woo! Bold predictions early on.
Yeah.
So let's head into tonight's game notes. A couple notes. Labushkin's out with an illness, so that means Simon Benoit comes back in the lineup after being healthy scratch the last 3 games. What do you guys think of that?
Shouldn't have been scratched in the first place.
Well, I get it. And again, this is moving guys around, right? Liljegren's going to be the odd man out unless he figures it out.
And yet, who's on the first power play tonight?
Well,
Timothy Liljegren.
Yeah, but that's apples and oranges, John.
Why? Wait, how can it be apples and
Who
oranges?
are you going to put there ahead of him?
Hold on. If you just said on one hand, he's going to be the odd guy out.
Defensively,
which means odd guy out means he's not in the lineup, right? We agree that that's what that means. But yet, in the same breath, you're like, yeah, put him on the first power play. Everything's fine. No big deal.
It's a different animal.
What's wrong with Morgan Riley?
Well, I mean, aside from
from the power play being in the crapper for the last month,
I think we're at like 15%.
It's a new look, right? We'll try it out for a couple and see how it goes. I mean, you can go with 5 forwards, I guess,
right?
Which wouldn't be unheard of. What did you guys think? And I'm going off topic here. What did you think of Minnesota pulling their goalie in 3-on-3 because they're fighting for a playoff spot and won the game? What did you think of that?
I thought that was unreal. Really, really ballsy move. Paid off. Luckily they did. Because I found out after the game, I don't think many people knew the rule that if they got scored on with empty net, they lost the loser point.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, no. If Minnesota pulled a goalie in overtime and they got scored on, they would get 0 points.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it came out after.
Oh, wow.
Big news after. Yeah, so it's pretty ballsy move.
Even more gutsy.
That makes it even stupider.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I saw that and I just went like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, great. Like you know what? There's so many, like, listen, did it work? Yeah, okay, great. Right? But like, just like when you're watching football and it's 4th and goal or 4th and 4 from your own 25, you know what I mean? Even if you make the first down, it's still a bad call. Right? So like, great that you won the game and you got the extra point. You had all of 3-on-3. You had the shootout. I don't know, man. That sends a terror to me. If I'm a guy on that bench, I'm looking back at the coach and going, "What in the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, but if they squeak into the playoffs by a point, you're a genius.
Yeah, especially against a division rival.
No, it's still a bad call then. John, it's still a bad call. Still a bad call.
Yeah, no, that was interesting. I saw don't remember which team it is or what coach it was, but apparently in the KHL, there's one coach that does this pretty often. Pulls the goalie for the 4-on-3.
Oh,
And
the Russians do it.
yeah. Yeah. So back to tonight's game. Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson are healthy scratches. Sean Couturier was just named captain 34 days ago. And Cam Atkinson, longtime NHLer.
Okay, so hold on. Before Johnny goes in on this, because I know Johnny's got some feelings on this, I'd just like to show you the difference between a coach like Tortorella and an AHL coach. Okay? So, our captain is allowed to not score 5-on-5 from the Sweden trip all the way till the middle of February. No problem. No problem. You're not going to miss any power play time. Your ice time won't be cut. Everything's fine. This guy gets named captain a month and a half ago. Isn't playing the way the coach wants. You know what? You're sitting down. Just saying. Can you imagine? Toronto would implode.
It would be ridiculous.
It would implode.
It wasn't too long ago that Tavares was benched for the third period, wasn't it?
A whole third period.
It's like it's ridiculous
for 3.5 months. Okay, great.
So
he really showed him.
I texted you guys this afternoon about this, and I said that Philly's turning into a clown show, and it is. Okay, So for John Tortorella, to do this is a huge slap in the face to his captain, who he named, to the organization, to basically say, hey, I got better options to get this team into the playoffs than the best player on my team, or arguably the one of your top players. Okay. Anybody you ask who's the top 5, top 3 guys on Philly, Couturier is in that mix, right? He plays the game the right way. He's always played it the right way. He's good defensively. He's gritty. He's a good hockey player. He's a good captain. Now here's where the disconnect is, in my opinion, in that organization. Danny Briere should have the kahunas to, when Torts goes up and says, hey, I'm gonna scratch Couturier against Toronto. That's when a general manager goes, no, you're not. No, you're not. You want to limit his ice time. You want to bench him. Like what that shows is disarray within that organization. There is no way. You know what Briere said? Oh, well, Torts is a kind of a guy that marches to the beat of his own. You're his boss, man. He's embarrassing your organization and your captain. Not long after a high-end prospect refused to even talk to your scouts at the World Juniors and forced to trade to Anaheim. Okay? So Danny Briere is not going to be in that role very long. Keith Jones is smart, and I don't get it. That head coach Tortorella, no, find something else. Tortorella likes to be in the news. This isn't a battle that he should have picked, and that should have been ended before it came public. Danny Briere,
fair though, but
Keith
to be
Jones,
fair,
and say, that's not happening.
To be fair though, we don't know the day-to-day of what's going on in that Philly room. I don't know that maybe Torts is so unhappy with everything that's going on there right now. And he's holding the captain accountable.
Yeah.
And saying, like, listen. Dude,
see how that works out for him.
Listen, all I'm going to say is Tortorella, more often than not, is right than he is wrong.
Well, if that was the case, he would have had a lot better success, other than the one cup that he won in Tampa 20 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, listen.
He's been on 15 teams, right? He's on some good ones. Vancouver was really good when he was there.
That's what I'm saying.
Rangers were really good when he was there, right? Anyway, all I'm saying is that this is a Bush League move. You talk about AHL coach. That's something that an AHL coach would do, in my opinion. You don't embarrass your captain. You know what? If he was a 3-year captain, that Torch named him captain a month ago. You can't now turn around and say the guy that I've been watching here since I've been here for 2 years and the way he, conducts himself, all the stuff that they say when they name a captain, Torts said it, right? And then 34 days later, well, I don't know. I don't like it. I've been in a lot of rooms that wouldn't like it. A lot of guys that are going to be in that room aren't going to like it. And I honestly, Torts is Torts. I expect that kind of behavior from him. My problem is that Briere didn't say, whoa. Let's talk about this before it comes out. And if there was something specifically that he did, then bring it up. But there wasn't. Right? I don't like it, and I'm talking from a former player, or a player's point of view. Sends the wrong message.
I just like to see Philadelphia in disarray, so I'm okay with it.
Do you think Torts doing this in Toronto is kind of playing the media?
Don't kid yourself. Torts knows how to manage the media, and listen, if they were playing in St. Louis tonight, he'd be in the lineup.
Yeah. It's also Torts' first game back too.
He's playing the game, but the problem is he's got bosses that could have said, "Hey, you want to scrap? Fine. Let's not do it in Toronto, where you're going to get the media." You know what I mean? What is this about? Right? Is this about sending a message to the player or about embarrassing the player and his family and this and that? And that's what it is to me. I think it's an embarrassment. Is Sean Couturier the 21st best option for that hockey club tonight in Toronto? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you're in a playoff race, right? You're in a playoff race with a team that you probably shouldn't be, and now you're going to take the guy that's I don't know. It's going to go one of two ways. Couturier is going to come back on fire, and the team's going to play great, and they're going to roll into the playoffs and get smashed in the first round anyway, or they're going to implode because the guys are going to say "F you" to Tortorella and go out there and go through the motions and be a non-playoff team like Philly is every other year, right? Whippy-doo. They'll have their tea times in mid-April. So we'll see. We'll see in a couple weeks how this works out. I predict that it's not going to work out well.
Well, given this the Leafs podcast, how do you think the Leafs are going to respond tonight, knowing that Torts is trying to send a message to his team? They're trying to make an example of the Leafs kind of.
So listen, I would love to tell you that I even know who's showing up tonight. I have absolutely no idea who. We are 17 games away from the playoffs. I have no idea what team is going to show up on any given night. I don't know how to read this game at all. Are we the team that's going to show up that was in Philadelphia and spanked them last week? Maybe. Sure. Sounds good. Are we going to be the team that decides, with a minute and a half to go in a hockey game that we're just done and don't want to play anymore? Are we the Boston guys who we're going to try and play tough, but really, what are we doing? That's not our game, and get spanked there. I have absolutely no gut feeling tonight on what team is going to show up. And that, I think, is the biggest problem. I looked at the lineup tonight, and I know John is forever going on about mixing and matching and putting guys in blenders and looking at different options. I don't care what league you're in. I don't care if you were – Pontus Holmberg was not on the top line when he was 12 years old. The fact that he is allowed to be on the top line for any length of time is offensive to Pontus Holmberg, Maple Leaf fans, and anybody who's ever been in the NHL and been on a top line. He's not that guy.
Depends on what you're doing. If you're top six heavy, or you're top nine, do you have a middle six? What they're trying to create here, I think, with the injuries is somewhat of an even balanced nine, right? If you look at those three lines, I don't think, obviously where 34 is your top line. Okay. Right. But if you can make three, and it's worked out well. We talked about the Carolina game. They gave up It was a bad penalty and whatever. Those things happen. The end of that game didn't make a difference to me. I saw them get 4 goals on a team that doesn't give up very many goals. Okay, they got 3 breakaways and capitalized on all those from real good defensive play. Wasn't really any breakdowns when they lost that game, right? They got unlucky. It happens. Toronto gets lucky sometimes and gets that one in the last minute and wins in overtime. Whippy do. I thought I saw a lot of great things. I thought that team doesn't give up the offense that Toronto created against them. That team doesn't give up 25 shots usually, and Toronto had 30, 33, something like that. I didn't mind the game at all. You get a point, you get a bonus point. But, to add to your point there, John, 6-3-1 in the last 10. How many of those are without Marner?
John, I don't care if we're 10-0 or 7-0-3. Who do we get beat by? We got beat by Boston. And we didn't just get beat. We got spanked. Not once. Remember, after the first game against Boston, okay? First game, I'm willing to give them a pass. Remember, I didn't get on last week, so you never got my diatribe on Boston, which, most people are mercifully grateful for. But after the first Boston game, what did Tavares say? Oh, we're going to learn from this. We're going to be better for the next game. And we went out and got beat 4-1. Okay. And then, you know what? We beat up on Philadelphia. Woo, fantastic. We just spent.
Who's starting goalie in the playoffs for this team?
Hold on, let me finish. I'm
asking you two both a question because I'll let you finish.
Okay,
who's the starting goalie?
Sammy.
Right now, probably four goal Samsonov.
Right. Did Samsonov play in those Boston games? So you played your backup goalie.
Who could very easily be our starting goalie.
Is he though? There was a reason why Samsonov didn't start those 2 Boston games.
Okay, so before I dive back in, let me just ask this question. This is an honest question. How many nights when Samsonov's in net did the Leafs have to score 5 goals to win?
I don't have the exact figure in front of me.
Yeah, but it's pretty often.
It's gotten better recently.
There's a reason we call him 4-goal Sammy, right? There's a reason we call him 4-goal Sammy.
He's getting the run support because he's winning. Right? At the end of the day, the win comes if we score more goals than they do, that we get that win. But it doesn't matter whether you score 4 or 1.
Which is fine in the regular season, John. But you and I know very well, and so does anybody that's watched this Leaf team forever. When the game tightens and the ice shrinks in the playoffs,
you're making my point for me.
How am I? Okay, this is interesting. Give it to me.
The game tightens.
Yeah.
Not just for the other team, for both teams.
Okay, but the other teams don't have problems scoring goals like we do in the playoffs.
A 5-4 game today was probably going to be a 3-2 or a 3-1 game in a month. But that goes for both sides, Joe.
I haven't seen that when I've seen the Leafs play in the playoffs.
Yeah, but it's a different team. This isn't the Leafs that played last year or the year before or the year before that. Your core guys are better. Are they? We could sit here and our core guys they're not better than they were last year.
Are they? I don't know.
Well, Matthews has 50 some odd goals. It's pretty good.
Well, the year before he had 6.
Having a great year.
Okay, but but the whole point is, show me the case where you have. And listen, nobody loves Austin the way I do, but show me the case in those 2 Boston games where Austin Matthews was even relevant on the ice.
He was relevant. He played well. He played fine. He didn't.
He played fine. Score. Exactly. No, John, you just said it. He was fine. But when your best players are not your best players, when your best players are fine,
okay,
not winning hockey games.
Folks, I want everybody right now they lost 2 regular season games in February to Boston. So cancel your playoff tickets. There's no chance this team beats anybody. And we'll just stop doing the podcast because why bother? John knows everything. We're done. They're going to go in. They're going to be 4-out.
When have you seen?
Blah, blah, blah.
But cite the case where Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner or John Tavares has shown up in a playoff round and you've gone, whoa, now that's the guy that we need. Show me. When has it happened before? And why do you think it's going to be different? That's all. That's my only question.
I think last year against Tampa in the first round, Matthews looked pretty strong. He had 5 goals in the 6 games.
7 8 points or something. Yeah. Anyway, it's the same old broken record, John.
I can't help it.
It doesn't matter whether they beat Boston in February. I thought we said it off the air. I thought they had real good bite in the second game. I thought they were almost playing a little bit of Boston's game. The result doesn't matter at this point. About a month ago, I was a little concerned about the results, and then they roll some off.
Well, yeah, we bought ourselves wiggle room.
Right. So now you're dealing with some injuries. You move some stuff around. I like the top 9. I like the idea. If you could, and you have enough talent in this group, and let's see what Robertson does. Your boy Robertson. Let's see if he can step into this role and really run with it. And then you can run a top 9. You can run a top 9, and that's real hard to play when you've got 3 lines.
Did Nick Robertson not look good in that last game?
I thought he was good. Yeah, I thought he was good. I thought he had some jump. I thought he had a little bit of bite. But he's got to bring that. So he's in order for him to be successful, he almost has to elevate the line that he's on. And he's with Nyes and Tavares. I like that line. I don't mind that line. And then Domi's earned his way to play with Nylander. And I mean, those are 3 lines that are top 6, pretty close caliber on most teams in the National Hockey League. And if you've got 3 of them, okay, and you've got home ice advantage, and last change, even if you don't have last change, let them have last change and come back and say, okay, well, who do we do? What do we do here? How do we? Most teams are built to be able to handle 2 lines, 2 offensive lines. Teams aren't able to handle 3 offensive lines.
Which, to be fair,
some production from all 3. That's very, very difficult to coach against.
Which, listen, to be fair, which is why I was a big fan when you started playing with Tavares on the third with McMatthews and Robertson. They were great.
Yeah.
And you know what? You give John Tavares the ability to play against a team's third line on a regular shift, he's going to put up points.
Especially with 2 young guys that have speed. And
there's the difference, right? Tavares didn't score for 2.5 months. And then all of a sudden, you put him with a couple of young guys against inferior competition.
He's getting breakaway goals.
Tavares looks great again, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Right? So, I'm with that. I just listen, man. You'll never.
Well, they're working on a 9 right now, and you got Marner and Jarnkrok who will be part of that 9 if they're both healthy. So now you've got a little bit of a battle at the bottom end, and that's healthy, right?
Very much. Yeah, I agree.
You got Robertson, you got McMahon, you've got what's the guy you don't like? Pontius Holmberg.
Pontius.
We got those 3 guys that are basically going, okay, we're fighting for one spot in this top 9.
Noah Gregor too. Reeves is trying to prove his point to be in the playoffs.
And then there's still 3 spots on that bottom line that those guys are in the. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Nick Robertson isn't one of these top 9s, he's not playing.
Yeah, fair.
He's not going to be effective on that 4th line.
Fair.
Right? I don't think Reeves is playing on that 4th line in the playoffs unless something goofy happens tonight, and then he needs to come in for whatever reason the next night. But I don't think
he should not be playing regularly. I agree with that.
But I like the Dewar kid, what he's brought so far. He's fine. There's going to be some good options. There's going to be some good options on the back end too. I'm telling you, if we can get everybody a little bit healthy, you got 3 goalies. You've got probably 8 or 9 defensemen going into the playoffs. If some of these guys come back, I don't know about Giordano, but he's a useful guy in small spurts for sure, and a depth guy, right? Is he going to be top 6? No. Let's face it. With his injuries this year, I don't think he's going to start.
I don't think he's coming back, John. I
think he's coming back. I think he wants to win.
I just got this weird feeling.
Well, you may be right. I hope I mean, he's going to be around the team, and that's his.
Yeah, for sure.
his value is less on the ice. Although, don't get me wrong, if you get down your depth chart and you get a couple D injured in the first couple of games of a series,
there's worse options.
You can bring a guy in that's not going to panic.
Yeah.
He's not gonna lose his mind because he's playing on Saturday night and in the first round of in the playoffs against the Boston Bruins. And there's guys that will.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you know what? It's you got what you got about a month now, right? Just
give or take.
Yeah, a month tomorrow playoff start.
14 games? Is that what's left?
17?
A little bit more than that, I think, yeah.
I think we're around 17. This is what, game 67 tonight? I think
67. Of course it is.
Yeah, of course it's 67. Yeah.
They've played 66 games, so 16 games, I think. Yeah. Anyways,
I don't know. So yeah, listen, I hope I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. I get nervous when I watch those two Boston games. I saw what I saw, call it the way it is. And then that Carolina game, man, I don't care what anybody says. The coach has William Nylander on the ice, killing a penalty in the last 30 seconds of the second period, and the puck goes in the net. Here's an honest question. If Noah Gregor can't be on this team killing penalties, why is Noah Gregor on this team?
Yeah, I don't disagree, but
that's a fair question.
Having no Marner hurt them on the penalty kill for sure. He chews a lot of ice. But
is that not do you not feel like that's where Noah Gregor should be? Like if Marner's not playing, if Noah Gregor can't come on the ice and give you penalty kill minutes, I for the life of me don't understand why he's taking up a roster spot.
Yeah,
just me.
I like him.
I do too. No, John, I do too.
I would have him on that fourth line every night, but it's everybody looks at it different. But you know what? I think the best thing to do here is sit back and look. What do you got this week? So Philly tonight. Who else?
Yeah. So Philly tonight, Caps tomorrow, Oilers Saturday.
Who tomorrow?
Capital Washington.
Oh, in Washington?
Yeah, so in Philly tonight, in Washington tomorrow, then back home against the Oilers on Saturday, and then in Carolina on Sunday.
So 4.
Yeah, 4 tough ones.
Yeah, it's not a
tough schedule too.
Washington's battling for their life right now too. So
yeah. The weekend one's pretty tough. You play really good Edmonton team in Toronto, and then you have to catch a flight to Carolina the next morning or night, whatever, and take on Carolina, who's red hot right now too. So should be a good test for the team.
Yeah.
But anyways, Wayne Simmonds just announced his retirement.
Scarborough boy.
Yeah. So he's going to sign a 1-day contract with the Flyers on April 13th and probably be honored that night. Do you guys have a quick word on Wayne Simmonds, what he was? Former Leaf.
Hey, listen, so Wayne Simmonds, unfortunately, is probably going to get remembered around here as, you know what? He was a guy, he came in, threw a few punches. But for those people who don't know, Wayne Simmonds, when the Wayne train was in his prime, playing with those Philadelphia teams, Wayne Simmonds was as good a power forward in front of the net as there was. I'm a big fan. I always like to pump up guys from the neighborhood. And, Wayne Simmonds, good Scarborough boy, and did real well for himself. So shout outs to Wayne Simmonds on a great career.
Yeah. Well said. He was a hard-nosed, absolutely honest player, great teammate. He could score goals. He had great hands, fast, big, heavy. Never shied away from anything. Played the game the right way. I was glad to see him be able to live out his dream of playing for the Maple Leafs. And unfortunately, he just the speed of the game and the way he played it, right? The way
he was like he was done by the end.
Those guys don't lie. Are you from Scarborough, John?
Yeah, man.
I played for the junior B for the old Wexford Raiders.
Wexford Raiders on Birchmount Road there.
Sunday nights at the Scarborough Arena Gardens.
Yes, sir. I was an Agent Court Lions kind of guy myself.
Couple of police escorts after some pretty big brawls coming out of that barn.
So unusual in Scarborough to have the police involved in anything.
Yeah, I was on pace that year for 974 penalty minutes or something that I played a full season. True story. They had 91 penalty minutes in 5 games or 6 games.
I love it.
Love it.
Yeah, no, listen, Wayne Simmonds and God love him. I'm glad he got that. He got that last night at the ACC. I think he scored a goal in that last game too. He either scored a goal or he got a dime on an assist or something.
I liked him. He was on trade deadline, and I enjoyed him there. He's a little awkward, but I think he could be a real good commentator.
Yeah, he's good.
But you got Anthony Stewart and some of these Toronto guys sticking around and doing that. I love it. I like listening to Anthony on there as well.
Another tough.
And Anthony coaches one of our pro hockey development teams as well, so he's going to be. We'll cross paths a little bit in the spring at some of the stuff that we're doing.
Nice. All right. What else?
So Cade Webber. So the Leafs at the trade deadline traded a 6th-round pick to Carolina for unsigned college free agent, or not free agent, unsigned college player Cade Webber, who's a 23-year-old, 6'7", 208-pound left shot defenseman. So I think it comes down to he didn't want to sign with Carolina. They have really good defensive depth. He was not going to sign with them. Only had to August 15th to sign, so they figured trade him to Toronto for a 5th or 6th-round pick. And the Leafs sound like they're going to sign him once his season's done. And take it away.
Yeah, he was a 4th-round pick coming out originally. So, they held his rights for 4 years, and he wasn't going to sign there, so they moved back. They basically went back 2 rounds, for, giving up his rights, which would have gone for nothing. So, listen, all I know is if our previous GM was here, this trade never would have been made. So
only if he was 5'7".
That's right, 100%. And so, as critical as I've been of hockey living, and I think there's plenty of criticism, well deserved, to go at Brad Treliving. He did not move the 1st rounder at the trade deadline, which was my greatest fear. So I was pleased with that. And anytime you can get a 6'7", 220-pound guy with potential, and again, I'm not telling you he's Zdeno Chara by any stretch of the imagination, right? I'd listen, if he was Tyler Myers, we'd do a dance, right? But anytime that you're going to be able to add that kind of size and physicality to a franchise that's been allergic to acquiring that kind of talent, I'm excited.
Tyler Myers is a good comparison, and from what I've seen of this kid and heard about this kid and scouting reports and stuff, he's almost the opposite of Tyler Myers, right? He's the same size. Tyler Myers has never used his size. Tyler Myers has wanted to be an offensive, puck-moving, skilled defenseman.
He could go into the corner with a dozen eggs and come out with a dozen eggs.
Correct. This kid is not that way. This kid is heavy, plays heavy, real good on the PK. He's got obviously a massive wingspan. He gets his stick into a lot of areas that make you successful in your defensive zone. But I want people to realize this isn't Cale Makar. And this isn't Adam Fox coming out of junior and making it, or coming out of college and making and stepping into a lineup. I think Toronto Maple Leafs would be doing this young man a disservice to sign him and put him in the National Hockey League this year under any circumstances. If they want to burn a year of his ELC and sign him to play in the minors, and then when and if the Marlies are out and the Leafs are still going, have him come up with the Black Aces and skate with the guys and, learn the NHL culture. I think that's fine. I'm good with that. But this kid's not going to be, I saw an article today about him and people are like, oh, he can slot in beside Riley. And it's like, no, folks. This kid is playing at the NC2A level, which is a great hockey. But the speed, the physicality, he's going to be able to handle the physicality. It's the speed and the foot speed that he's going to need, some time to adjust. Even though he's a little older, Nolan, you pointed that it was 23 or 24. He needs a year in the American Hockey League, or at least a start in the American Hockey League. But yeah, tremendous move. Didn't cost you, really anything. We talked about it last week, John. I have no problem with Treliving's, deadline. He didn't sell the farm like it's been sold the last few years and hasn't worked out because it doesn't always work out, right? You don't know what's going to happen.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I love it. I think it'll be great to see him. And yeah, I mean, his representatives clearly dictated this trade. It would have been, they would have gone to the out of courtesy and gone to the Canes and said, we're not going to sign here. Just, you have too much defensive depth. And then they would have said, where will you sign? And he would have said,
Toronto, Vancouver, Detroit.
Yeah, whatever. He would have given them a list, and then they would have reached out and seen what they could get. And it might have been a short list. That maybe it was just Toronto. We're going to sign in Toronto, or we're not. And that's why they got him for a sixth. Yeah. Right.
He won best defensive defenseman in Hockey East in the NCAA.
Yeah,
Hockey East is the best conference too in the NCAA.
Yeah,
like
100%. He's going to play in the NHL probably in the next year to year and a half. He's going to be there.
Yeah, but just further to John's point, because I think it's a salient point, is let's also remember defensemen are the Cale Makars of the world. And listen, everybody knows that watches this show, we're huge Cale Makar fans. Cale Makar is the anomaly of anomalies. He's not the average standard bearer.
Well, there's a bunch of them right now. Quinn Hughes, Adam Fox. Like, look at these guys that are out there. They're ridiculous.
Yeah, but John, that's not the norm. The norm is, guys, especially defensemen, even older, younger defensemen, at the pro game, take time to develop, right? There's like Timothy Liljegren, for example. I'm just using him because he's here. He's a little bit behind the trend based on his pedigree for where you thought he would be at this point in time. But guys generally take a couple of years of development. Playing defense in the National Hockey League is different than playing left wing. It just is.
Luke Shen is a perfect example. Luke Shen was a fifth overall pick.
Great example.
Toronto brings him in as an 18-year-old, and he doesn't have a good career. Right? He confidence. He you know what I mean? What am I? Am I a shutdown D? Am I an offensive guy? Am I a fighter? They didn't know. They just wanted him in the NHL so fast that they didn't give him that time to learn how to be a pro, figure out who he is and what he is, right? And then another perfect example for that is one of my old guys that I coach, David Bolin, and I know he's not a defenseman, but David Bolin at 140 points in his last year in the O, right? Won a Memorial Cup, like 57 goals, played on a line with Robbie Shrimp, right? Chicago takes him 32nd overall in 2004, and then all of a sudden, he's in the minors, right? And he looks up at the big club as he's in the minors, and they got Johnny Tays and Pat Kane coming, and Chris Versteeg and Hosa, so somebody said to him, and it wasn't Rockford yet. It was still Norfolk in the American.
You want to make the show?
Yeah. Figure out how to play away from the puck. Figure out how to be a shutdown guy, and he became the best shutdown guy in the league.
Yeah.
Right. Going from 130, 140 points in junior to playing. The 13 cup. The 13 cup. And maybe it was the 10 Cup. He shut down, right? The Sedins.
That was the first year, right?
Yeah.
That was the first Cup.
The Sedins.
Yeah.
Then the Thornton line. And then the Giroux line, right? That's who David Bolin played against. And, but you're bang on. Let this kid figure out who are you going to be a big, mean defenseman? Are you going to be a Chara? Are you going to, what is it?
Yeah. No, listen. And so interesting to kind of build off this discussion here. I was having a debate with a couple of people this week because everybody gets mad at me because I slam the brakes on these things pretty quick. if I hear one other person talk to me about Easton Cowan's 453,000 game point streak, and that is automatically going to equate to him becoming Sidney Crosby in the NHL, everybody's got to relax. Okay. Listen, the kid's playing out of his mind and having an absolutely fantastic year. And kudos to Easton Cowan. But let's remember, a year ago, no one knew who Easton Cowan was. Easton Cowan was a third-line guy playing on the London Knights who was told by his coaching staff, hey, listen, you're not really that guy. Become that shutdown third-line center that can be playing in all situations, and we'll kind of see where that develops. And you know what? He took the coaching, followed it, and he's having a great run. Fantastic. There are a billion guys that have been in the OHL that have had fantastic OHL runs that have gotten to the American Hockey League and that's the peak. Now, I hope it's not for Easton Cowan. I hope Easton Cowan turns into a legit top 6 guy in the NHL who's fantastic. But I just want to press pause on all of the people who kind of casually watch, the box score and see 35 game point streak. He's automatically Sidney Crosby.
He's also playing for the London Knights.
That's what I'm saying. That's a whole other point, John.
They're good.
Whole other point.
Right? They're going to score. Now, it's funny you say that. It's funny we were just talking about Boland, because if this young man, and I hope, good for him. He's getting on the score sheet every night at any level. Fantastic. I agree with you though, John. I think Easton Cowan is going to be in the NHL for sure. Couple of years. And is he going to be a 100-point guy? No. Easton Cowan's going to be a in your face, finish your hit, middle 6 forward that plays heavy. And the reason why Easton Cowan is improved is Dale Hunter, right? And Dale Hunter did the same thing. Nolan, your hometown, Guelph. I lived there.
Okay.
And when I had David on the show, I should have asked him about it. But I remember his dad. So David's dad, Drew, who's and his mom Carol, real good friends of mine. They came up to Guelph, so I lived in Guelph. David's playing his first game in Guelph, big deal. Oh, we're going to come up, and we got tickets, and everybody was excited, and it was his rookie year. And anyway, he went out on and he was their first round pick, 6, 7, 8 overall that year. First round of the year before was Corey Perry. The year before that was Rick Nash, and then David, right? So he's coming in, and he's got he scored already. It was probably before Christmas. Anyway, doesn't get a shift, not a shift. So the old man's getting a little worked up. Oh, this is crazy. How? And I said, Drew, part of the game, man, part of the process, right? This is Dale's subtle way of saying you got to earn your stripes, right? You got to, I'm going to play my best options. If you're one of my best options, you're going to be there. Right now, you're not. And building character and showing a young man that, I coached the kid 10 years before that, or 7, 8 years before that. And he was the guy that was on the ice at the end of the game. He was the guy that was on the ice on a power play at every level, all the way up. Right. And now he's got to learn how to sit on the bench, pack the bus. Right. But if you ask David Boland today how much Dale Hunter meant to him as a coach, he couldn't, they're still very, David's best friend is Dylan Hunter, who played with him, and Dale's son. So he billeted with them but Easton Cowan and Mitch Marner and Max Domi and all these guys that have come through the London Knights over the last 20 years, since a little bit more since Hunters took it over. You're hitting the lottery. If your kid gets drafted by the London Knights and has an opportunity to learn in that system, not only figure out, how you win, you're coached properly, you're held accountable. You've got Mark and Dale Hunter, two of the best hockey minds on the planet, in one organization, right? Right. It's insane, right? So Yeah, I mean, I love it. Whenever if Toronto picks somebody or somebody's draft somebody, you don't even have to be as good of a player right now. But if you're playing for the London Knights or you're playing for the Rimouski Oceanic or the Moose Jaw Warriors, I'm looking at that player that plays for the London Knights and I'm going, okay, and I'm really going to study that guy and where Dale and Mark have him in that system. And in their depth chart and where he came from, from a rookie year up to his draft year and the improvement. And I'm giving the London Knight guy probably a little bit more leeway on numbers, and things like that, because I know he's learning how to be a pro. He's
and John, it's
the right way, right?
You know what? It's no different in college basketball when when the Raptors turned around and drafted Grady Dick last year, and everybody freaked out. And I just said, Bill Self runs one of the top programs in the entire country at Kansas, and he can't say enough about how good this guy can be. Not how good he is, how good he can be, how much he's developed in the year and a half that he's had him. And so I looked at that as a basketball fan, and I went, if Bill Self is saying he's one of the best kids he's ever coached, I'm okay taking a chance on that guy.
Yeah.
Every day of the week.
100%. Right.
Every day.
And that's the London Knights factor, right? So
100%.
Easton Cowan is going to be set up to succeed. Right. More so than
for everybody that's watching now, just because he's on the run of a lifetime does not mean he's Sidney Crosby. Just everybody take a breath.
He's signed. They've signed him to an ELC.
Yeah, he's signed. Yeah, he's already good.
Yeah, but is this a guy that would benefit similar to the college kid, right? But again, there's a business element to this too, right? How good do you think Easton Cowan's going to be? Because if you think he's going to be real good, you don't burn that entry level first year. Because you got him at 3 years at 850 or 9 or whatever it is, right?
Which is why. But John, that is why I absolutely love the way we handled Fraser Minton this year. Yep. I love the way we handled Fraser Minton. Fraser Minton, when he came out of training camp, absolutely earned every opportunity that he got with the big club. Now, he got exposed really quickly at the NHL level. However, there is absolutely nothing wrong with giving a kid who's earned it the experience of a road trip, get him out, show him how to be a pro, show him what an NHL practice looks like, show him what the routine looks like, give him a little taste so that when he goes back down and all of his buddies are like, hey, what's going on? How was it? He can kind of give that advice too, and he becomes a bit of a mentor to those kids as well.
And Toronto brokered the deal to get him to Saskatoon as well, because Saskatoon's a contender out there, and Kamloops hosted last year and they weren't. So, now he's going to be playing meaningful games in April and May and maybe a Memorial Cup.
But I'm just saying, isn't it nice for the first time in a long time that we feel like we're trending in the right direction with younger players? We're not doing the Luke Shen, right? Yeah. Where you're drafted, we're going to throw you in.
That wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened with the way the internet and mass media is now. That wouldn't happen to Luke Shen.
Yeah, I hope not.
I don't think it would have. There would have been so much pressure, like today, if they're like, oh, yeah, we just drafted a defenseman, 5th overall in the NHL, and he's going to play on our team this year, the GM would get crucified in the press. Now, that didn't happen back then, right? Perfect. He's great. Everybody thought he was Bobby Orr. That was the problem. He had so much expectation coming in. They were comparing him to Wendell. They're going, oh, he's, he looks like Wendell. He's from Saskatchewan. He's tough. But he should have been in the American Hockey League for 2 years. And then
100%.
Then I believe he's a Hall of Famer. I believe that because he's playing the best hockey of his career in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. And
as an old man, John, who finally understood the game and finally understood positionally where to be and angles and how to play. I agree with you. No, I agree with you.
He's not as fast. He doesn't skate as well as he did, but he plays better. So what's that tell you? Experience, right? So
And so, just quickly, because I didn't get a chance to get on when we did the trade recap show.
Yeah.
Big fan of the way Joel Edmondson's fit into this lineup.
Yeah.
Love that he, like Joel Edmondson, for you guys. I know you covered a little bit of it, but Joel Edmondson is never going to wow you, right? But he is never going to hurt you either. He is just
I won't take a sift off. He's
Eddie, man. You know what you get.
Mistakes.
You know what you get with him every night. And for me, I love the addition of Edmondson. We know I love the addition of Lyubushkin, because for those two guys, you absolutely always know what you get. There's no guessing. You know exactly when they're penciled in the lineup and they're on the ice. You know what you have. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah, and Dewar, you like Dewar?
Yeah, the Dewar or Dewar or whatever his name is. Like, I'm fine. I'm fine by him. I'm fine. Like, maybe he slots in, maybe he doesn't. He's a depth piece. If we're relying on him for anything, we're in big trouble.
He's going to be in the mix for a spot on the 4-minute fourth line.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
right. Depending how he plays the next 15, 18 games.
You know what?
He can start on that fourth line. But as we discussed earlier, you've got kind of a top 9 now, and you're going to bump 2 of those guys out when Jarnkrok and Marner come back, and now you got 7, 8 guys fighting for 3 spots. I like that.
Yeah, John, there's nothing wrong with it. No, I agree with you. And as long as Pope Pontus isn't on the top line, I'm okay.
And if you think about the last 4 or 5 years, John, and I know you like to, and it's different teams, I know you like to compare, they didn't have this depth of NHL-ready players that can walk into a lineup that have played games this year, that have contributed this year. You're going to scratch guys that would be an opening playoff night roster on 13 or 14 other teams that are in this league. You will scratch guys that would be playing for some of these playoff teams.
Yeah, and so
both on the front and the back.
I can get there with you for the last couple. I think last year's team was probably about as deep a team.
Defensively, they had nine guys to grow.
Like defensively, we were deep last year. I didn't like our depth, but we were deep. Yeah. And offensively with Riley and everybody, if the AHL coach had to manage that properly, I think we would have been in a better position. But c'est la vie.
All right, so we're running close to an hour here. So we got, as mentioned earlier, Flyers tonight, Caps tomorrow, Oilers Saturday, and Carolina on Sunday. So 8 points. What do you guys see?
6.
6?
Okay, I'll take 3. And 3 only because I have no idea where we are right now. I don't know what we're going to get on a nightly basis. That's the honest answer. When I picked us to run the table, I felt like we were playing a solid defensive game. We had structure. Everybody was on point. We knew what we were doing. And now I kind of feel like we're back to run and gun, loosey-goosey, and the coach just saying, I'm taking positives out of blowing a 3-goal hockey lead with 1:30 to go in a hockey game.
And you're missing a top 10 player in the world. So.
Oh, yeah, great.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4 points. I say we split the 4-game stand. It's a pretty tough schedule. I'm not sure who we're going to get the wins against, but yeah, hopefully tonight start off.
Yeah, I think we beat Philly.
I think you beat Philly handily. I think the way they handled them last time.
And Washington tomorw, too.
Yeah.
Washington's not that good of a team. They're playing.
I'm thinking overtime. I'm thinking an overtime loss tomorrow in Washington. I think Washington needs the point, or Washington needs the win. And the teams that need the win always scare me. Do you know what I mean? When they're fighting for their life, guys, teams like that always scare me.
Everybody's fighting for something. Like even Edmonton's coming in here. They're locked in, but they're trying to get a seeding. I mean, there's going to be some nasty matchups out west.
Carolina's trying to catch up to the Rangers on Sunday.
But that's what I mean. Like whereas I feel like the Leafs we're kind of like locked into that 3 seed right now. Like
and I'm okay.
It's almost the inverse of where we were last year, locked into second. Do you know what I mean?
And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm okay with it. I truly believe They can beat Boston. Boston could catch Florida.
They already have. I think they're ahead of Florida right now.
Are they, okay, so it could be.
Are they?
Florida. Yep.
Yeah, so it's let me pull it up.
I'm fine with either one of those series because you know what? At the end of the day, if you can't get through one of those teams, you're not going to win anyway. So go home.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're gonna go against a Florida or a Boston, and then you're gonna find Colorado or Dallas or something if you make it to the final, and it's next level. Like I believe Colorado, and who'd they just add? They just added somebody too, and like
Casey Middlestat, Sean Walker,
signed a Russian guy that's the top.
Yakov Trenin. He's really good.
Oh, the Russian kid.
Big fan of him.
So they're a wagon. They're going to be there. I mean, if they're all healthy, you got 2 of the top 10 D-men on the planet. You got, arguably the best player in the world. And then you could have Landy back. There's talk of him being ready. I mean, holy smokes. That's a wagon.
I just want to go on the record. I just want to go on the record officially saying I want nothing to do with Florida and I want nothing to do with Boston. I want that wild card more than anything in my life. Because
Rangers,
100%. Because against the Rangers, I feel like we got a shot. Against Boston or Florida, I've watched this team play every night, and I've seen Boston play multiple times. I've seen Florida play multiple times. I'm telling you, in a 7-game series. That's why I'll take the Rangers every day of the week.
I think they beat either of the teams.
So we go. Boston's at 95 points. Florida's at 94, but Florida's played one less, so the game in hand.
Okay, so they can.
And then for Toronto to drop down to a wild card spot, Tampa would need to catch them, and they're 7 points behind, and we have a game in hand. Just kind of.
Start tanking. We're pretty much locked in, right? Unless Tampa goes on. I mean, but Tampa. Listen, if Vasilevsky gets hot and does Vasilevsky things.
Right.
All right, boys. Yeah. Well, it's time to tune in.
All right, go Leafs, go.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Thanks to Don Cherries and Bjorn.
Yep.